G'day folks and welcome to another episode of Questions with Quentin. In this episode, I interview one of my idols, Kevin Smith. Now, for those of you who don't know Kevin Smith, he is Silent Bob from Jay and Silent Bob. I've wanted to meet him since the mid-90s, and I finally got to do so very briefly when he was here for his Australian tour of Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. Here's some of that interview now. Explain Smodcast and the reason to tour it.
The Smodcast kind of came about from me wanting to sit around with Moj and chit chat like we used to in the beginning, like before we got busy making films. Once you get busy making flicks, all of a sudden you stop having fun. It becomes all about business. And so one day I was like, let's sit down once a week and do one of these podcasts. I've never heard one. I heard the term Ricky Gervais was connected to it. Somebody was like, you ever heard Ricky Gervais' podcast? I said, no, what is it? And they were like, it's like a radio show. And I was like, really? And I had never heard it. I still to this day have never listened to it. But the idea really captured my imagination. Like, they just sit around and talk to each other. It's like, yeah, and somebody, I think it was, I don't know if it was Mosier or somebody said, like, it's kind of like the commentary tracks you do on the DVD, but there's no movie. And I was like, oh shit, we could do that. So I suggested Moj we sit down and start recording them. And we did that for like years without ever thinking about taking it out on the road or anything like that. That came way later. Once we did it for charity in Brantford at the Gretzky tournament, the hockey tournament. Once we did it at home in Jersey when the Smodcast book came out, Shooting the Shit with Kevin Smith. But other than that, we hadn't really planned to do it because the vibe of that show was so two dudes in a room just talking about it. And when we went on stage, it became a different show where we were trying to make people laugh and trying to please the audience. So, you know, we didn't really think about it going out to the stage that much. And then, I guess 3-4 years into it, that was when kind of Moj was looking to do something. He wanted to make some money fast. So I was like, well, why don't we take Smodcast out on the road? We could do it. And we've done it twice before, once for charity. I said, let's go and take it out. We'll do like little clubs and stuff. Try to treat it like an indie rock band, but like for talk. You know, just people talking to each other. So we booked some clubs and we went out on the road. And it was, I don't know, it was fun, man. It was neat. It was like being in a rock band. But we didn't have to learn, we weren't talented. You know, that was the neat thing. When you're talented, you can expect to be a musician, I guess, or something. But we have zero talent. And so to go up on a stage and have people be like, that was kind of cool, man. So I dug it. And, you know, Jason Mewes, who'd been up on stage with me a number of times during the Q&As and stuff, he'd fallen off the wagon during this time and kind of got lost to drugs again. And then he'd gotten back on the wagon and he saw what was going on with the podcast and he was kind of way into it. And we had opened up this little space called Smodcast in Los Angeles on Santa Monica Boulevard. And so Mewes was hanging around a lot, and one night we were supposed to do a Katie Morgan show, but her dog died, and she was real close with that dog, so she had to stay where she was in Vegas. Actually, she was going to see her man who was trapped in Toronto. Such a long story. Anyway, I said to Mewes, I was like, Katie can't do the show anymore, so do you want to sit in and we can sit down and kind of have a conversation about the drugs and whatnot? Like, I'd written this kind of short blog story, a novella thing called Me and My Shadow about his drug abuse. I said we could sit down, talk about that from beginning to end. And so he was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And that was the birth of Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. And that was always in front of an audience. It was never like where Smodcast was at home, just me and Moj. Jay and Silent Bob Get Old has always been me and Mewes in front of an audience. So suddenly there are two versions of the show, like a home version of Smodcast, and then a live version of Smodcast, and then Jay and Bob Get Old just became this kind of show that we did in Los Angeles, and then we took it out into the world. It was crazy. We took it out to like Orlando first, and it sold really well, like 1,500 seater pack, and that's when we were like, man, we could take this every place. And so we went to the UK a couple months ago and did a big tour there, and the Handsome Tours people like got in touch with us last year, and they were like, we think it might work here, and they'd never done comedy before. They'd done music a lot. That's their stock and trade. They're like, let's try it with this, because, you know, the name helps. The name Jay and Silent Bob, people know them, even if they don't know Kevin Smith or Jason Mewes, they know that name, which sometimes hurts the live show because people show up expecting you to be in costume.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh shit, I hate to let you down, but it's not really that show. So I don't know, it's become like, it started as this very simple thing about 5 years ago to have a conversation with Scott Mosier once a week. And now it's become kind of the central preoccupation of my life. I just got tattooed on myself.
In Slot I
God I
Trust.
trust, yeah. Last night it was, I don't know, it's kind of become my life now.
For more information on Kevin, go to smodcast.com.